So at the end of the day, right, us recruiters don't really know who you are, and it's more on most recruiters need to first be able to see if you're a match to the job, right? So normally what we do is we have an intake meeting with the hiring managers and say, hey, ask them, hey, what are you looking for, right? Give me keywords, right? At the very least, give me keywords of what you're looking for, right? Hey, this person needs to know C++, this person needs to know character work, needs to know Maya, Max, right? That kind of stuff, right? And all we're gonna do is pretty much go on LinkedIn or go on whatever database we have and put those keywords in and see what people can come up, right? From there, it's gonna be up to the recruiter to like start looking at the job description and the resume and say, oh, okay, can this person be a match, right? Aha. Oh. So, did everybody catch what I just said? Excellent.
Can we raise the volume down a little bit?
I'm sorry? Up?
Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
If it's still loud, tell me.
Good.
Cool.
So,
Thank you.
their first approach, or the first thing you should be looking at yourself at is, does your resume look like the job description, right? At the end of the day, when it be on LinkedIn, be an actual paper resume, right? That's gonna give credence, or it's gonna give trust for the person reviewing your portfolio, maybe myself or the hiring manager. For hiring managers will be your boss, right? To say, oh, this person can do the job, right? That's really the biggest piece of advice I can give you, right? That means also that you have to tailor yourself, or just find out the things you want to do in this industry and be able to go 100% for it, right? Where you're in art, right? You want to do stylized work, or you want to do realistic work, right? What studios do you want to work in, right? Same thing for design, engineering, everything, right? Some studios only work in C++, right? ArenaNet, us 343, but also other people work in C#, right? Work on Unity, right? You really definitely need to be able to target yourself to these studios. In truth, that's like the biggest thing I can tell you. Apart from that, talking to those recruiters, be able to elaborate about what you do, and being able to tell us why you're excited to do it, right? But above all, just be able to be concise in how you present yourself online, right? Really, it's pretty self-explanatory. But on what I just said, any questions? Yes, question. One more hands. No, you haven't looked at them. So you first.
All right. So let's say that you're trying to get a job in the industry, but you're new. You would be applying for an internship or a junior position, and your resume is a little bit lacking.
Mm-hmm.
You may not necessarily have the kind of experience that would be desirable, but you do have a lot of things that you're familiar with. So should you have that extra padding, or should you just like take a deep breath and accept that your resume is going to be very short and do that like fine tuning, that cutting things off, that tailoring? So is it better to have a portfolio that looks like a normal size portfolio, or a portfolio that's like, I can do the exact thing that you are looking for?
Understood, right? And what do? You do art, right?
No, I like to do art, but what I specifically do is I'm a designer. I do user experience and system design and narrative
right
design.
On. Good.
That's my favorite stuff.
Good. So you brought up a lot of good wisdom, right? That yes, a lot of times you're not going to have the things that we're looking for, right? It's more important for you to be honest and forthright about what you have done, and be able to demonstrate your ability, right? Then lie, because that's going to come out later on.
Oh yeah, no, not lying. I'm thinking.
I understand,
of,
like
yeah,
padding
okay.
what you think,
Okay,
right?
thank you.
I also want to make bigger topics, right? I'm just speaking to you,
absolutely.
speaking to the audience.
It's big work, yeah.
But overall, right, definitely show your ability. Also keep in mind, right, when somebody like me says 1 to 2 years of experience in a resume, right, doesn't mean actually like you have to have 2 years of experience sitting down, right? It's like your work quality needs to be at that level of somebody that's been in the industry for 1 or 2 years, right? So that definitely gives you some inspiration to apply those jobs, right? What's the other thing? So definitely at this stage, right, you definitely want to start going for places that will believe in you, right? So it won't benefit you to just submit resumes and see what bites, because you're just playing the hard game there, right? You should be really reaching out to these studios to the people in the studio that you want to like work with or you want to emulate, and say, hey, for example, in your case, right, UX, UI, right?
No,
Sorry.
experience, narrative design, emergent gameplay, and systems.
Sorry, I keep on saying this.
No worries.
Yeah, design, right?
Yeah.
Reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in working with you because this studio is really does a lot of things I want to be doing in the future, right? So you present them with some problems, you present with some questions about how to get better at what you do, right? And kind of have ideas of how to be able to work in that environment. And once they get, hopefully someone will reach back to you, right? And just you keep on trying, right? Until somebody reaches back to you and you're able to take that input and be able to demonstrate that, hey, some of the stuff I do have, or some of the stuff I'm working on, right? And thank you for that feedback, right? What happens at that moment is something that is very important for you, because that person is going to get up and go up to the hiring manager and say, hey, this is somebody you got to keep an eye on, right? And you're definitely going around the whole, like, I'm just going to submit my resume to somewhere and trying to just hope that something happens. At the end of the day, honestly, I have 2 piles in front of me, and 80% of people that apply, and about 10 to 20% of people that are internal referrals, a lot of times they're going to go off this pile, right? And so you don't want to be in this pile. Just be forthright and just have people believe in you, and that's really the secret sauce, apart from just trying to be able to be the most visible in the bad pile. Cool.
All right, thank you very much.
Somebody else have a question? No? Yes, thank you.
So when dealing with a recruiter that's like, come out to approach you, what's a good set of questions you usually have, like for a phone interview or something like that?
For you or for the recruiter asking you that deal?
To ask the recruiter.
Excellent. So in your mind, right, your mindset should be that I'm also interviewing them, right? I know that you're starting out and you want to get your foot in the door, right? But if this place is not something that works for you, you're going to have a bad time, right? And so ask them about their culture, right? Ask them about what their process looks like when it comes to being able to develop something from scratch, or just what your everyday will look like, right? Ask them about the turnover rate. Ask them about the kind of like the expectations for this role, meaning that, okay, I'm gonna come in as a junior, right? But what does the future look like for me, right? What would you hope to see from me, right? Questions like that really inspire the person on the other side of the phone, but also give you an idea of what you're in for, right? Let's say you're interviewing for a junior role, right? And then you're asking, please tell me again what you do.
3D character art.
Yes, my man. And so it is, okay, you're gonna ask them, okay, so what is the style you're going for, right? What kind of art direction do you think I'm gonna be getting, right? Who is the art director? Is there a specific kind of like way that you go about making characters, right? Like the nitty-gritty detail, right? If the recruiter's not able to answer that, it's okay, right? At least you have an idea, right? And these questions are the ones you're gonna be going after, right? Also ask about the culture, right? Just plan on ask, what's the culture like there? Right, and then they probably might know, they probably might not know, but what they give you will give you a much better answer, right? A lot of these questions you're also going to reserve for the next interview after that, which is the actual person inside the studio, like the hiring manager or a 3D artist inside of it. But at the same time, it's good to get from the recruiter as well. So just don't be afraid to ask any of those questions. Like if you're worried about health insurance, if you're worried about any sort of like medical leave or anything, ask that right away, right? Ask those questions that will in your mind will make sure that will make you say, yeah, this place is a good place for me to work at. Okay. Yeah.
How do you handle hiring people from it's not local to the company? Do you people have got to be applying from all over the world.
That's
do you
true.
Generally just do over the phone or Skype or stuff like that, and eventually down the line, do you try to get them there in person, or do you just hire straight from those phone areas and stuff like that?
Definitely in an environment like mine, right? AAA,
Yeah.
right? We make sure that we see you in person before we hire you, right? No matter what. Other studios, yeah, it might be a Skype interview, right? Like at Glue Mobile one time, I interviewed someone over Skype and then hired them. Like, here you go. Like, that was in Canada. I'll get to it in a second. But thank you for listening. But at the end of the day, right, for us, our philosophy is we need to hire the best person for the team, may it be local or not, right? And in truth, This is something that for you to keep in mind is that I just don't hire the person that is technically the best, right? Like you don't have to be like the best concept artist, illustrative wise, right? Or you don't have to be the best designer when it comes to specific things. It's more about how you're able to work with the team, because that in itself is what is the metal of the person. Also, if for anything, I like your hair. Because part of what we say when we say experience in a resume is not just experience in drawing or just experience in designing. It's more about how can you help the pipeline of the team get through all the things, the crazy things that happen during development of the game, all the way to the end, right? All these problem solving issues, all this working with internal people, that is in itself half the battle. G.I. Joe style.
So the other half of that question for me, I guess, would be when you do finally bring that person over, are you guys the one that's helping them bring them here, or do they have to like fork over their own money to like try and get here for that interview? And even then, when if that's the case, that they have to use their own money, how would you entice them to spend their own money to like
True,
get
right?
here?
And so you're touching upon something that a lot of studios can't really do right.
Okay.
And so the right thing to do is for us to give you the relocation money and say, here you go, or be able to provide you a service that says, here, take here from, we're going to take you from point A to point B, work with us, right? That's the right thing to do, and that's what we should be doing, right? Now, when it comes to like places that give you a contract, right? They don't have the money or they don't have the ability to tell you, hey, we're going to move you, so it's on you, right? And the contract will, and the document will say, the relocation, the ability to work there is dependent wholly on the person accepting this offer, right? Which is lame, right? If you're able to work with your recruiter on that, good. If the recruiter is able to do something about that, great. But don't expect them to do so for contracts,
Okay.
right? But at the end of the day, it also depends on the studio's monetary situation, right? A lot of indie studios don't have the ability to hire you from the outside, fortunately. So that's where you weigh the risk, right? It's more about you need to be able to give yourself the time and the ability to find those jobs that you want and not just bite the first thing that goes through you. You'll be fine in the future. Does that make sense?
Hi. So I have a whole string of questions about what qualifies as experience and what kind of experience you should put on your resumes.
Yeah, right.
Specifically regarding games.
Yeah.
So let's say, just totally theoretically, this has no impact on my personal experience, I'm lying, that you do a lot of game jams, that you take on a designer-producer role in the creation of games in like 48 hours or so, and you're proud of what you do, but it obviously doesn't have the most polish. But you did work with the team and you did create something that is complete. If you feel that it demonstrates your skills despite the obvious lack of polish, should it go on your resume?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, especially at this stage of your career. Go.
All right, thank you. What about independent projects, though the role that you're looking for is working with a team, that be it a small team or a large team? If you do something that you feel demonstrates, oh, hey, I can do this. I made a small game that says, yes, I can create economic systems, or something like that. Should that go on your resume, though, again, it may lack polish because you don't necessarily have every skill that you need to create a full game?
That is fine, right? At this stage of your career, right? You're not applying for a senior job, right? You're applying for it in like a mid-level junior intern, right?
I'm going for junior and internships, yes.
Great. And so the ability for us to see that you have finished work or that you have attempted to solve these problems and done something to the end and committed to those things is exactly what we hope to see.
Okay.
Right?
All
In
right.
Truth at Arena, in Truth at Arena, one time we chose someone that had something finished or that had attempted to do a project and finished it over several other people that had the possibility, but someone said, hey, I stuck to my ideas, I went through something, I went through the entire process, right? Now this is something we can trust. Okay, this person has gone through it, right? We're gonna help this person continue to evolve and to continue to grow, but at least it's someone that we can trust a little bit more into. And that stuff you're talking about is exactly the stuff I'm looking for.
Okay. What if you have that project, but that project is completely gray box? There's no real art on it. There's just assets that you pulled from the Unity store, and it's all sort of assembled, but it's functional and it works.
That's fine. I mean, that's great. I mean, you're not an artist, right?
I'm kind of, but I don't do
Sorry,
game art.
but you're not being graded on that, right?
No.
You're not being seen for that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Animators, right? I'm not expecting them to make their own models, nor should I hope they do, right? They should use the models that they from somebody else or from Animation Mentor or something, some sort like that, right? And that's really what I'm grading them on, right? I'm grading you on design, not on your ability to model little great houses.
All right, last thing. I pretty much got into this school because I was looking at a tabletop game and I was like, I don't like this, and so I did mods and modifications to it. Would it be possible to take levels that I have designed for tabletop games and use them to go, yes, I know how to do level flow, I know how to do interactive narrative, I know how to work with pre-existing systems and add my own spin to it, because that is the job that I'm looking for. Is that a thing I can do?
Understand that you're targeting yourself to specific things, right? So like
Yes.
you're not going to come in with everything at once and say, hey, I can do all these things, right? It's more like, okay, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Right? If it comes to like an indie or something indie, right, where you're more generalist, great, right? Also understand that even senior designers, even lead designers are not experts at their craft. They're people that just try to solve ideas through like experiences or design, right? May it be narrative or be systems, right? And so for you, it's more about you being able to demonstrate to us that you're able to have ideas about design and commit to them to the end, right? One of the best designers I ever spoke to, he told me that in truth, the metal of a designer or what makes a designer good is that they have their own ideas and they're able to follow through them. Not if their idea is the one that fits the best for the target market or whatever. Cool.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, so one of the
Mhm.
students this week got a call and was talking to a recruiter, and they said, what is your salary range? How do you best answer that, especially when you're a junior just coming out of school?
Oh man. Okay, that's
Sorry.
That's a minefield of a question for me.
Yeah.
I'm much more about being honest with all of you, right? So I'm gonna tell you, I don't have a prepared answer for this, honestly. So I'm just gonna tell you what I think I could tell you. Okay? By design, you're not supposed to know ranges. You're not like it benefits the corporate for you not to know salary, and for you to be in the air like trying to look on glass doors to see what you can find, right? So so the hope is that you come at us with lowballing and we go like, oh, we got him, right? We got him low, and that's not really the way it should be, right? So that's what I'm saying about minefield, right? I'm not representing UC right now. But what you should be doing is really reviewing where you are in your career, maybe junior, senior, and then ask your friends, ask everybody, what's your salary? Just ask them, right? But also look in glass doors, right? And find different avenues for you to get this information and start building a reference, right? And then from there, right, just straight up ask the recruiter, like, what's your salary range, or just like, what salary am I supposed to expect from this, right? And the recruiter might not be experienced, and then they're going to tell you, hey, I don't know, you tell me, right, or something, right? And at least then you'll have an idea of what you ask for, right? Yeah, just ask your friends, ask people around you, right? Ask your entire community to ask them about like what a range looks like for this level of your job, for associate, or junior, senior, mid-level, right, for this specific job, and just be well informed, right? And if you go to a recruiter and you ask them for too much, then it's the recruiter's job to tell you, hey, no, it's supposed to be this, right? But don't come in way too low, because then it's going to be their benefit, right? Hopefully you find a recruiter that will be very that would be wise enough to tell you what a good range looks like and be able to earn your trust than just to like let you lowball yourself. Did I get to answer your question?
Yeah, it's great.
But it's more about find out, like, do your best and like get all yourselves together, right? And ask your friends, ask everybody else, right? And all of you like probably start a Discord group, right? And start asking about what people make, right, in the industry.
What's your salary?
Oh, I don't know if you should answer that. That's really that's personal.
I'm gonna play around a little bit with
Not enough.
that. I think sometimes too much, and I think sometimes not enough. I agree, right? Us recruiters are worth our weight if we're able to be honest and have a good communication with the people that we work with, right? In truth, our philosophy should be 50% of our time needs to be devoted to our job, and 50% of the time needs to be devoted to the industry, because the industry is going to take care of you. And so, and so at the end of the day, right, the better relationship you have with the industry, right, the more your weight is within the industry, right? And so So it will be him, and then you, and then. And so, what's my salary? I hope to every day be worthy of it. No matter if it's, I know it's cheesy, I'm sorry. And if it's 50K, what I used to get back in my old studios, or if it's like 60 or 70 or even 100K, right? It's more about, it's not up for us, not about the money, and if it is, you're in the wrong business. And so it's him, unless I'm missing somebody else here. You. Okay, so. Okay.
While you were answering your question, you said that you don't judge like animators, or you don't grade animators on their models. You expect them to just look at their animation. For a programmer who can spend like hundreds and hundreds of hours writing code, but there's no front end,
No,
is the job on you to like grade it, or do you actually like ask someone like more technically, or like do you ask another programmer to like look at it?
It is incredibly rare for the recruiter to grade it. Incredibly rare, right? And so for you, it's very important to demonstrate on your resume, and the keywords you use on your resumes and your LinkedIn, right? Because it's all about keywords, right? All of you, right? That you're able to at least give, for me to be able to have trust in you, give you the opportunity to talk to the hiring manager. That's the person's going to determine if your code is worth any good, it's worth any soul, right? I am an art recruiter in the end, right? I specialize in art. I do other things, but so at the end of the day, I can look at your work and say, good, not good, fix this, fix that, move on, right? And that's one of the things that makes me special in this industry. There's other people that are able to do that, right? But I also find them few as well, right? So you definitely should target yourself to the general. Be clear about what you say in your resume. Does that answer your question? So you right?
Got it.
Aw. So it was you, and then you, and then you back there.
It seems that like games, mostly AAA games, are getting more and more expensive to make. And I just wanted to ask, in your experience, where do you see the industry going as far as growth? If it's doing well, if you're hiring, or you have a lot of work in that area. I'm speaking as an artist, so more in the industry.
And so, honestly, my thoughts right now are the industry is moving a lot more to AA than anything, right? You saw this year, a lot of us fell.
Yeah.
A lot of us fell hard, and there's not enough AAA to catch all of us. And so what's going to happen? A lot of those people are going to move into their own little studios, their own little initiatives, right? And to be able to move on. And I think in order to counterbalance that thing that what you just mentioned, which is like games are really expensive now. Only 3 entities at this point, maybe Google if they will really want to, right, can support $500 million, $600 million on one game, right? Just not happening. And so much more experiences, much more teams, right? The technology's there, like with Houdini, right? Where like automation's there, right? It's more about now you as an artist, right, need to start being able to become much more proficient, right, with these automation tools, right?
That's what I was going to ask too. Is
Yeah.
In your opinion, would you say like to stay ahead of the cusp, learning Houdini, things like that are really going to like set us apart?
Yep. I was very recently speaking with him, right, telling him like, yeah, you as an environment artist, right, or as a character artist, right, you need to be very proficient in the fundamentals of what makes your work good, right? But a lot of the times you're gonna have programs just be able to do half the work for you, right? But you need to know what good looks like. That's what makes you good, right? And so you're able to just continue to stay ahead of the curve, right? Be as proficient as possible, right? With Substance, right, you now have a program that's gonna do half the texturing for you, but you need to know what good looks like.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Any other things?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
This is a little stage, but
Yeah.
I've asked you this before, but when you're going to apply to a studio that has more of a stylistic approach, but you're a character artist, is it important to focus on anatomy and realism first before the stylized so you can get the fundamentals down, or should you go straight for stylized?
So the way I like to see it is that you need to lay down the fundamentals of anatomy before, or actually, in order for you to break the rules, you need to know them first, right? And so if you're gonna go for stylized, right, you need to know anatomy shapes. You need to know, like, really nail them down, right? Because you just don't go straight into a stylized, right? Because then all your muscle shapes are gonna be all blobby and weird. And so just be proficient in knowing what you're talking about. And that's just gonna make you visible to me. Make sense? you again, but then you. Thank you for all the questions, by the way.
Yeah,
I really
no,
appreciate it.
I was about to apologize. I'm drowning you in them, but if
This helps me.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
So,
Okay.
sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. Sorry.
Since you're recruiting someone, so for instance, because I'm an artist, but I'm looking to do design. Well, if they get recruited, they're actually on the project and then speaking. If they want to they start to show skills in other areas. How do you handle like cross training or like moving into another area? Do you have to go through another interview, or do you like you worked on this project long enough, you kind of show you have some skill in this other area, like we'll kind of put you in here and see what happens, or do you kind of is there a whole like thing with that?
So I'm gonna put you in the spot for a moment, right? And if you're not able to do so, it's okay, right? I only understood part of the question, so can you please reiterate it?
Yeah. So when you're recruiting somebody, like for instance, since I'm an artist but I'm dabbling in design, they go into the artist position, but say the project gets done, you're working on, and another project comes along and they kind of start to show some skills in another area. So for instance, since I'm doing design, how do you handle that kind of like duality of like skills? Do you have to do another interview to see if like, okay, maybe we can't put you in design, or do you actually just kind of like, go there?
That doesn't really happen in AAA or in mini studios. That happens a lot more in like much smaller, I'm gonna say indie, or just like much more like general studios where like everybody has to kind of carry everything. In studios like mine, that's just unheard of. Like what we do is we set ourselves, okay, this is the project we're gonna do. It's exactly who we're gonna need for this, right? We're gonna need the specific artist, the specific designer that does this thing to carry this through to these timelines, and then from then all the way to the end, right? If one of these artists is gonna go like, oh no, I want to be a designer, and I go do something else, it's gonna make us all pull our hairs and be like, what's going on? This is life, right? It's just not gonna happen. So, but to get back to the base of your question is that, yes, I have seen that happen in other studios. Honestly, it's more about you and what you want to do, what you really want to do, right? And you should really target yourself to do the thing you want to do in the beginning, right? So, kind of philosophy or an idea you have to have in your head is that somebody else will always pay you just a little bit more money to do the thing you don't want to do. But after a while, you're going to be known for that. And then for you to extricate yourself from that and to do something else, it's like you're starting from zero. Right? And so definitely target yourself to the things you want to do, to like the area, and then try to be the best you can at that at that thing. Make sense? So I'm kind of losing track. So you, and then somebody over there, and then nobody else here.
Alright, so I actually have a reason for drowning you in a ton of questions. I have an informational interview with a studio very soon. Thank you. I have no idea how I got it, but I want to make the most of it. I know that it's just me going over to the studio and asking about it, poking my head in the doors, and seeing all that stuff. But I was wondering what I can do to make the most out of it, like what kind of questions I should bring, what kind of portfolio experience I should bring, what I should do in the 7 days, solid week I have left until that interview. How can I best prepare myself?
I'm gonna say something really quick, which is I don't think you should downplay yourself. Sounds like you did sounds like you're doing all the right things. These things don't happen by accident, so good job on you, right? So you're doing something right. Just keep at it. So understand that interviewing is a skill you pick up over time, right? It's like acting, almost, right? And so you can only do the best you can with what you have in your head or what you have available at the time. Maybe just your understanding of the world, or just maybe like anything psychological or just physical, right? So don't go in there thinking you have to impress somebody, right? You have to just be the best person you can be that day. Be the best yourself you can be, right? So yeah, it's hopeful that you are able to revise on what you know and be able to speak clearly, right? Or practice clearly, right, on what you want to talk about, right? But don't go in there thinking that I have to impress these people, right, in order for them to give me a job, right? Just sit down, ask them, what's the studio like? What's the culture, right? Tell me what you expect from me to do, right? Just be very forthright. It's like, what do you expect from me, right? And how would you help me grow, right, into the next level, right? Those really should be the questions you were asking, right? You're interviewing them.
All right, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me.
You, and then somebody else posts right. You again. So you, so it's you, and what's up? You again.
Hey. So what advice would you give for following up after applying or an interview?
I know, right? That's so cheesy. So the proper thing to do is for you to pretty much send an email following up saying, hey, thank you for your time. It was really, for me, it was really good to, or for me, it was a pleasure to speak with the team. And I've like send an email or send a correspondence thanking them, saying something positive about how you learned from the experience. And give specifics possible. And then from there, I'm saying I look forward to hearing from the team, right? I look forward to continue our conversation with the team, right? Nothing committal, right? Like you have to tell me if I got the job or not. It's just like, hey, thank you for your time. It's really helpful. I really appreciate what this person said. That's it. It's just good manners. So you were after. So who was the other one? So it's you. Okay, so you. Yeah.
Okay, so I've been talking to a lot of people who work in the industry, like through meetups and stuff, and they always emphasize that no matter how much how good you are at a certain skill, that it's really important to be able to like merge well and work well with the team, and your social skills are really important. What's a good way to improve your social skills?
That's a
You've
good
got
question.
great social skills, but I'm glad you asked that
That's a
question.
good question. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing so, right? So that is super true, right? I don't always hire the best technical person. I hire the one that is able to make my team better because they're there. Be in art, design, engineering, everything, right? And so always have the mindset of like, okay, how can we take these problems and make something that we can learn from, or if not, build ourselves from, right? That in itself, that philosophy, now when you go everywhere in the world, just whatever you speak to anything about, have that philosophy, right? And then as you do these practice projects with your school, right, always have that, right? And that over time will give you the language naturally, right? You don't have to force yourself to be more likable. It's more about how can you be a responsible adult around people, right? This is not something you can just work over time. Read a book and be like, oh, I am now perfect. It's not. You have to build this over time. Does that make sense? Yeah. What?
Oh, okay. Hi.
Hey.
So I kind of want to know more about cover letters, and also because, so for instance, I sent an email to a company that was not specifically hiring, but I also just like had some questions about internships there, and then I also sent my resume. But so when you open and if you apply for something and you have to send an email to send the application, do you also include a cover letter, or is that kind of your cover letter, or like when is a cover letter best, or I'm listening.
Honestly, as a recruiter, I really think we should do away with cover letters. They're the most
Yeah.
annoying thing in the universe. And it's like they're asking you to like lay down your soul for like no reason. It's like,
Do you not expect cover letters?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
But I do know that some studios do, and they still expect, right? Because probably they're old guard, or like that's just the way they always done it, right? And so, or maybe they do see a positive in it that I'm not seeing, right? But in truth, right, your cover letter should just reiterate your desire to work there, and your desire to learn from them, or desire to like give back to the studio, right? Okay, I am this, I am applying to this, but because of my skills and my commitment to this, I think we can add something to. I think I can add to the process of developing this game, right? You don't have to be specifically like reiterating your resume. Just I know it's a vague answer, so like, tell me if you want me to elaborate more.
No, I think that's. I mean, I just wrote my first cover letter a few weeks ago, and
Mhm.
so I don't have much experience with it. And then also, just sort of, when is it repetitive? I got a lot of good advice from the teachers here about what to do on it. So just want to hear what you think.
Honestly, I haven't read cover letters in so long.
That's also kind of reassuring, though.
So unless they like specifically ask for cover letter, like I don't know, like Riot or Blizzard, I don't know if you still do that, then don't. Like there has never been a time in my entire career of like all these other studios where it's been like, oh, they didn't write a cover letter, oh my god, no, get out of here. Right, it's not gonna happen.
Thank you.
Of course. So, yeah, I'm sorry I lost track. So it was you two now, and then you. Okay.
I know when you are trying to fill a position, you have a bunch of different candidates that you personally look at. But when you find the right pick, are you to push to the people who are actually, are you hiring, or are you pushing? You're the recruiter, so I'm guessing you present these candidates to the hiring team. Do you personally hand over multiple candidates, or do you personally hand over the best that you think?
True.
Single.
I give out a number, right? I don't like, let's say 5 or something.
Yeah.
Honestly, at the end of the day, a recruiter is a force multiplier. They're not supposed to be the end all be all gatekeeper, right? At times we should, because we're gonna get, whenever we put out a job, we're gonna get like 100 listings. Like, oh, am I gonna handle this, right? So it's gonna be upon my ability as a recruiter to understand what I'm talking about and be able to like parse through these resumes, right? But I'm not perfect. Even if I'm reviewing for art, I still say, let's lean towards the maybes, right? And get the higher manager's ability to determine. And so, has it happened where I just give you the one? Yeah, I've seen studios that do that all the time. But they have to be like really that good. Right?
Okay.
But most of the time it's gonna be like 6, 7, 10. 10 normally, yeah, no more. So you, then you, then you, and you.
So I'm wondering, how do you go about applying to a game developer if they don't necessarily have that position open, but you're interested in it?
So good question, right? Apply directly to the jobs that you see open, right? That's really you should be doing that, right? It's really hard for me to see like people that don't fit the job description at all apply for like a lead position, right? That just makes me go bonkers, right? But you never know what's open in the future, right? And so in truth, you should save yourself the hassle of applying to future jobs that don't exist, and reach out to these people, right, inside the studios, right, for advice or for feedback, right? That way, when those things open, you're in the good pile, right? Because all these people in the good pile, in the 20% pile, they're the ones that's been speaking with the team, the ones that have been setting themselves up for success in the long term, than just saying, hey, recruiter, I know you're super busy, you're not gonna remember me one bit because I'm not talking about the thing you're talking about. So, but keep in mind, right? Honestly, our desks are super swamped, right? Like we normally have like 30, 40 recs at once, right? And we like, if we're not talking about the thing we're talking about at the moment, we're like, it just immediately goes through our head like this. Like you're not even a real thing. So set yourself up for success. Talk to the people that are gonna want to hire you, and then this person's gonna be like, hey, you should talk to this person. Make sense?
Yeah.
Information interviews are a great way to begin the conversation. What can I be doing to make myself a better candidate when you have that position open? Should be the way you might want to phrase it.
I agree.
That's actually the exact thing I asked to get the informational interview. Like I asked that and then they gave me it.
Good. Should be.
Okay, so when you're working with recruiter to get hired by a studio, and if you have a letter of recommendation, who should you give that to?
A letter of recommendation. A letter of recommendation from like your
Recommendation.
Yeah, like from like your teacher or something. Or
Yeah.
Should probably attach it directly with the application, but at the same time, yeah, just give it directly to the recruiter. Give it directly to whoever you talk to, right? I wouldn't lean so much on those, right? Those are really good and important, right? In truth, the recommendations that matter the most to the recruiter are the internal ones. And after that, it'll be, oh yeah, good. This person thought well of this person, right? But yeah, just send it during the conversations, email-wise, saying, hey, this is my resume. Also, I have a recommendation from this person, right? That's able to speak to my skill. So you, and anybody from the back? Yeah, you got someone in the back. Sweet.
So regarding online,
Do you mind if I do that?
regarding online portfolios, do you prefer to see someplace like ArtStation where the portfolio is built up, lined, and organized, or do you prefer to see social media where they're constantly posting the new stuff and their works in progress?
Cammy, I think you and I have a real accordance to what we're gonna say right now.
I'm gonna let you say it. I
ArtStation.
talk to them all.
It's a huge reason why this school helps you out with ArtStation, because it's definitely the best medium for you to be seen by someone like me, and it's the most concise and just most professional way, right? Yeah, social media is something that I'm supposed to go through, but I shouldn't judge you on that 100%. Okay? So yeah, ArtStation's as professional as possible. Don't go to Wix, don't go to all these websites that just bog down memory or something. Really clear presentation. ArtStation's the best by far. So you go. Sorry, did I answer your question?
So for artists, there's like ArtStation, and for programmers, it's like GitHub. And on LinkedIn, I know like a lot of people put their links to whatever like other sites they have.
Mm-hmm.
For a designer, what kind of links should go there?
Right. This is difficult, right? Because you don't have like a specific medium, right? I've seen a lot of people put in like a website, like just their own website, and say, hey, this is my design portfolio, this is what I've done, this is my thought process around these problems. And that really should be the best thing to do.
Okay.
Right? I think it's the best, most effective way to convey information. Always put your thought process and be as clear as possible about how you got from point A to point B in this design process.
All right. Thank you.
That was exactly, you answered my question perfectly.
Right on.
That was what it was. Is that how do I convey that as a designer, and is a personal website good for that? Because I do have a website. I'm just trying to figure out what to put on it.
You were like doing exercise because you're holding your hands so long.
Well, I answered it. What are the questions you ask as the recruiter, and then how do you get the position of the recruiter?
Oh, how do you get position of the recruiter? But the first one's a great question, right? What do I ask, right? I ask you about, so my philosophy is that I ask you about yourself. I ask you about why you want to do what you want to do, right? How do you get to this point? What you want to be doing in the future, right? Like not the whole like, tell me where you want to be in 5 years. But like, okay, so you have these things, right? Where you want to go from here, right? There's a lot of really cool things. You want to go into seniorship, leadership, right? I ask you, it's mostly conversational, right? I mostly just want to get to know you, because in that conversation is when I'm able to start picking things that you tell me and like dig deeper on them. Like, okay, you wanted to be a 3D artist, right? Like, okay, so why do you want to be a 3D artist, right? What fulfillment does that give you, right? When I talk to people, I'm more philosophical than anything. But somewhere along the line, I'm going to ask you about compensation. What do you want to be making, right? I like to have that conversation in the beginning, because then we get the ball rolling, right? I always say, hey, this is not the end all be all right now, right? But I want to get this ball rolling, right? And if I start catching this person telling me like they don't know what they're talking about compensation wise, I'll be like, hey, hold on. Let me tell you what fair looks like, right? And I'm gonna leave it on you too to find out if what I'm telling you is real too. But honestly, I'm gonna tell you exactly. I'm trying to be as honest as possible with people, right? That way when they do their own research, they trust me and they build that trust. And that's really what I'm caring about. Cool.
The second question, how do you become a recruiter?
Oh, sorry. How do you become a recruiter? Oh, I was trying to avoid it. So being a recruiter, every recruiter I met has been very circumstantial. Like somehow they ended up doing it, and somehow they got stuck with it, and some of them liked it. I actually wanted to be a character artist, right? And I started doing my character work, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this happen, right? And then somewhere along the line, right, I thought I was gonna be on Machiavellian and be like, yes, I'm gonna go into this agency, and I'm gonna hire the person who's gonna hire me in the future, right? And then I found that I loved it. I found out that in recruitment, right, there's a lot of fulfillment that I got in being able to not only understand what I'm talking about, being able to work within art or within like design or anything in the games industry, but also I find real fulfillment in being able to make teams better, because I was able to get people together into something greater, right? This is not for everybody, right? Recruitment is not in games, but it is, right? There's many opportunities where I could just said, hey, I'm gonna leave games, I'm gonna go to like Amazon or something, I make like 3 times what I'm making right now, right? But you have to be passionate about something. So how do you become a recruiter? Let some agency give you a chance. Teach you the ropes, right? Be a sourcer, right? Sourcer is the person that goes online and like looks to people like a bajillion people and goes like, these are the people you want to talk to, right? And then from there learn like, okay, what it's like to be inside of a studio, what it's like to manage that relationship between yourself and the hiring manager, in order for you to find these people quickly and put somebody into a studio. And that person has to be a good fit. So understanding that itself is, so yeah, it's nuanced.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So after you do recruit someone, then what happens after? So say like there's no more job openings, like where do you go from there?
Yeah, that's been my past couple times, right? Where you just do your job and like, oh, we're done. We don't need to recruit it, bye, right? So recruiting, I always have to say, it's really mercenary, right? You need to be good at what you do always, right? That's really what's gonna give you jobs. Doesn't matter if it's gonna take you a job. But overall, if you find yourself in a bigger studio, the turnaround, even if it's like a 10%, is always gonna make it sure that they need you, right? Imagine working in a studio that has 300 people, 10% or 20% of that leaves every year. That's a big chunk of people that you need to fill every year, right? And so, also, the recruiter's not just filling seats, being able to be the face of the studio, right? And so be able to be the person that makes happen that the visibility goes out there. We go out there and have like OGC, or have good visibility, or go out to events, right, and be like represent the student. It's who we are. It's what we do about, right? It's just being a recruiter is not just hiring people. It's a lot of disability things that make it happen. So,
I have a question. I have two questions.
Yeah.
I want to be like you, first of all. So I have
Thank
two
you.
questions, right?
And I'm missing some people, so I'm sorry.
Unless there's somebody, I don't want to. Okay, so one question is, I know there are seasons of hiring. So like Microsoft may not hire anybody after July to September because they finished their budget. Or can you give us some?
No, Kenny, for a moment, I
Yeah.
hope I'm not interrupting you because this is it's like a response. I never seen that. I don't know why people say that.
I hear that all the
Maybe
time.
I'm blind to it.
Really?
Maybe the environments I'm in
Okay.
cover that for me. But I'm always
All right.
hiring. I'm always like freaking out about hire.
Right.
I'll never get to say the moments like, oh, it's September. But if there's snack back, it's not gonna happen.
Okay.
It's always hiring all the time. Studios
Right,
always need people.
Right. Okay, I like that answer.
No.
And then can you give us a story of like the worst interview thing that you've heard, so we all know not to do that? Sorry.
What can I share?
No names.
I know. The thing is that I'm also in HR, right? So I have to make sure that I don't say specific events that are so specific
Yeah.
that the person will know.
Right.
Or just someone that is too much, right? Because who watches The Watchmen, right? And so. I think one of the best ones are gonna be that where at the end of the day, right, you're, as you said, right, as someone here mentioned, that you need to work with teams. You need to be able to add to the team and be able to be someone that makes the team better because you're there, right? So if you come in there with ideas about not inclusivity, or about being able to, about saying that other people are not worth it to be there because they are of gender, or they're of a background that is not amicable to you, or in your mind unamicable, right? And make your interview about that, right? That is a massive red flag, and I've seen that a couple times. Right? It was the right word. Somebody, whether it's it was the right word for that. And so, I've been in interviews, right, where a person would be, or I'm trying to make this one as big as possible, right? A person, we were interviewing this person for designer, and we were talking about, okay, so like, what do you think makes this game good, right? What do you think makes character customization good? And the person starts going into a story about how they were teasing their wife about, they're teasing their partner about how they made somebody a gender that was different than them, and then poking saying that just giving gender dysphoria jokes on this person. Immediately, I had to give the face like, yes, I have to make sure the candidate experience is good, right? Once the interview was over, right, I walked to my boss and say, this person cannot have this job here. Immediately, right?
That's a good one.
I couldn't just tell the person like, get out of here, right? Like, it felt great, but at the same time, it's not just in the case of like doing what's right, socially wise. It's more about being able to contribute to a team that has diversity in it, and diverse teams make diverse games, meaning by being diverse makes stronger projects in itself, right? Makes stronger products, right? As we have learned from the past games, right? Stuck with one idea, right? They have failure.
All right. Well, thank you. You are
Yeah, that's
awesome.
it.
We can do one more question.
Ooh. Yeah, I know you're
We're
raising your hand. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
You can talk to Alejandro after while we're picking up
Yeah.
the chairs.
Go for it.
I was just gonna say, how do you make sure you're getting face value for the job that a recruiter is trying to sell to you? Because I mean, it's kind of a back and forth sale thing. Like, you're trying to sell yourself to them, but they're also trying to sell the company to you. Like, I've heard horror stories about Naughty Dog and how like cool they are, but then they make their workers sleep under their desks and won't let them go home except to shower.
Yeah.
But how do you know like what's a horror story and what's actually like a problem?
For my own, before anything, right? An old boss of mine would say, me talking about some things you said will be a CLM, a career limited move, right? So I'm not going to comment anything about Naughty Dog.
Well, Well, this is just an example.
But I understand,
Because I've
right?
heard about it, but I'm not sure if I believe it.
I've heard
you
the
know?
stories too, and I heard every studio, at the end of the day, every studio has their thing, right? Has some good and bad. But before I build too much on the subject, right? It's really important for you to give them a chance to explain themselves, rather than just believe the stories out there, because there are some spooky stories out there about some studios, right? Even some studios that I have worked in the past, right? But it's more about, okay, who are they really? What their philosophy is at, and if you end up joining them, if bad things happen, you go and say, hey, I thought the expectation was that we're supposed to be an inclusive studio. I thought the expectation was that we're supposed to be a studio that does not accept this behavior. What's happening? And if they come back at you with different stories, that's when you know you get out of there, and it's gonna be their loss.
Okay.
So
be careful, but don't blackball yourself.
Correct, right? And don't blackball yourself on opportunities that or places that might have changed their ways, right?
That's good. Watch what you say. All right.